leave that in the corner there. Hey everyone. Oh, getting some sound there. Where is that? Sorry. Hey everyone. Hey everyone, Icon here from Voclia Music. Thanks for joining us today for the live stream. Just going to start a bit slowly, give some people time to log in and join us. Today we're going to be talking about how to use Dubler 2 for different kinds of sampling techniques. This is going to involve just singing melodies, using samples with drums, with doublers, great chords tab that allows you to lay down chord progressions very quickly, which can be very useful while testing out different sounds for sampling. And for sound design, and we're just going to go over some basic Ableton tips and tricks as well, while also towards the end of the stream maybe looking at a new granular engine that's the company Kilohertz have added to Phase Plant, which is a really affordable synth that we recommend, and we'll be getting into that update and how it can be used with Dubler as well very shortly. Just checking the chat quickly to see if there are any questions or comments right off the bat before we get going. We recommend and okay. Sorry. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'll be keeping an eye on the chat, like I said, so if you have any questions, be sure to let us know. And other than that, what I'm going to basically be doing is, again, as I mentioned, going through various sampling techniques, using the Dubler mic and using our software, Dubler 2, to try a different approach to sampling and performance and recording, all using your voice instead of doing this with a traditional MIDI keyboard. So there are lots of different things to talk about when we talk about sampling. The most simple one is basically dragging one note into a sampler and just performing that, because what samplers do is they basically take a note and they spread it across a keyboard. And we're gonna show some sampling tricks in Ableton, like I said, but every DAW has a sampler or a different variation, and the parameters are all very straightforward. So even if you don't use Ableton, you can also apply the techniques that we're going to talk about in your own workflow and with your own sounds. And towards the end, again, as I said, we're going to look at some third-party plugins that are really great for sampling and that are pretty affordable and that work great with Dubler. So I'm just going to start with this synth sample here. And I'm going to start this from scratch, actually, so I'm just going to delete this. Synth note. Also, let me know if you're having any trouble with the audio coming through, or if you think I'm loud compared to the audio as well. Okay, so I'll mute this reverb as well. So in Ableton, all you have to do to open a sampler is find a sound that you like, and then just drag it into the MIDI channel, and it automatically generates the simpler instrument for you, which is a smaller version of Ableton's larger sampler. But simpler is one of the most powerful tools out there. I'm sure a lot of you have already experimented with it or used various presets. But so what happens when we get a sample in here, basically? Ooh, no sound. So we have I'm just going to turn down the input level here. We have Dubler here in the scale of C minor, which means any note we sing will be corrected to C minor. So this is one of the benefits of testing samples with Dubler, is that you stay in key and you can sing a bunch of different ideas and record, and everything you do will be in key, and you can just continue your production from that key. So we chose C minor. You can also alternatively go to the key tab, sing in a melodic idea, and it'll suggest a scale for you to work with. But anyway, so now we have the scale of C minor. So actually, interestingly, we're getting the wrong notes as audio because we're set to C minor here. But the note we dragged in, this is something to really take care of when you're sampling, is to look at what note the sound you chosen. So we took this simple little flute note, but it's an F. And by default, simpler puts the root of the sample on C. So that means you have an F note playing when you sing the C note with Dubler. So in order to correct that, we kind of have to match those. So that in order to do that, you can quickly head to the controls here, go to transpose, and transpose it down. So F is 5 semitones above C. So I'm just going to bring this minus 5 semitones. Now it should match up. Okay. And right off the bat, simpler looks a little bit intimidating. Simpler can look a little bit intimidating, but there are some really quick controls that can help get you started and make you create whole pads and massive sounds, all by using the small little flute note that we have here. So first of all, I'm going to add some attack. So attack basically will delay the start of the note, similar to how pads sound. So I'm going to give some attack. So a problem with that is that it's cutting off too early. So a big sampler trick is to use the loop. So once I activate loop, it's going to loop the whole thing. But there's a lot of space here at the end. So you want to kind of shorten the loop. Maybe bring it to around where the note is fading. Do that. And then you just increase this fade knob to add smoothness. So without the fade, here's how it'll sound. So you're getting a sound, you're hearing the transients. But if I increase the fade here, so you're still getting a kind of rhythm, but you can edit the loop and fade values here. So all you have to do is just click activate loop, decide how much of the audio you want looped, and then just decide the length of it basically. So now, greetings from Poland. We have There's lots of people saying hi. Hello, guys. Like I said, if you have any questions about Dubler, voice to MIDI, or anything we're looking at, don't hesitate to write. We can discuss anything, basically. So now that we have this nice pad kind of sound, so the release determines, after I stop singing, how long is it going to keep ringing out for, that loop we did. So if I put a high release, it keeps going. I can put that even higher. So it can keep going for a while. I'm going to leave it around maybe 1 second. And I'm going to lower the frequency. This is another key thing. So we talked about the loop settings, the envelope settings here, release, and also the frequency can really change your sound, the filter frequency. So I'm just going to bring that down. I'll add some reverb. So now we're going, because of this slow attack, so because we're using a pattern with a slow attack, so it's rising kind of, and we've kind of lowered the frequency, this is kind of ideal for a pad. So what we can do is we can activate Dubler's chords here, and we'll just head to the chords page. Every time you sing these notes, you'll get the chords that are written here. And because we're using a major or minor scale, it automatically maps the root notes to the chords. However, you could switch these out. For example, to make things more interesting, I could switch the D sharp major and D sharp. I could turn that into a D sharp major 7, or this G minor over the G, I could change that to a G major 7. No, sorry, G minor 7. I could change that to a D sharp major and add that chord and just experiment with different kind of combinations here. So now that I have chords active, I'm just going to record that just so you can see the chord MIDI as well quickly. So a quick little chord progression we have there. I actually shouldn't have maybe deactivated the metronome. So we came to this really big sounding pad sound, and this is what we started with to remind you guys. There are definitely worse sounds, but like to get to this so quickly. So it worked. When I increased the resonance, it worked out that the filter is actually starting to make some really interesting sounds when messing with the frequency. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to sing while controlling the filter frequency, and you can do that with Dubler's assign tab. So what you can do is you can map effects and parameters in whichever DAW or third-party plugins you're using to Dubler's vowels or the envelope knob. And if you map it to the envelope knob, which is what I'm going to choose for now, that is basically controlled. I'm going to turn off the other vowels. That is controlled by how loud you're singing into the mic. So when I sing louder, I want this frequency to increase, and I'm going to get all those sounds, nice sounds that come with that while performing. So I'm just going to go into Ableton's MIDI mapping mode with Command M. Just click once on the filter, hit map, all good there. I'm going to exit MIDI mapping mode now. So it's going all the way to the bottom when I'm not singing. I don't want it to go all the way to the bottom, so I can just increase this lower limit of the MIDI CC range. So we, again, starting from this one little note, we can use Dubler's chords, and especially the spread voicing that you can see is just spreading these chords across how many octaves? 1, 2, 3, around 4 or 5 octaves, and you can get these massive chords, which you can also edit afterwards. You can add notes, holding Option, and just adding more notes is really helpful. And yeah, that's one way to go from one note sound to a chord. So another way of sampling, and especially when we're talking about chords now, would be to drag a whole ready chord into the sampler. So what we can do is, so here I've dragged this E piano chord, but I have to shut chords off right now. So I basically searched for chord in Ableton or from among my samples, just created a new simpler track, dragged it in here, not dealing with any of the loops or anything because it's already a long enough sample. But what you can do is you can, wait, so I'm just checking if there's any questions. Yeah, so this will allow you to play in a quick progression like this, for example. So just to reiterate, I have Dubler's chords off. I'm only using single notes, and each single note is going to launch the chord basically at different pitches. Ba, ba, ba. Wrong thing is armed. My bad. Ba, ba, ba. 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 So I'm gonna try at a lower octave. Ba, 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 so this is a technique that was used kind of in early 90s house music, where producers working with samplers, a lot of the Akai samplers especially, would take a chord, put it on the spread it out along the 16 pads that they had, and just play it at different pitches. And this is where a lot of really famous house chord progressions and riffs come from. It's just one chord played at a different pitch. So and talking about sampling, we're looking at some basic sampling techniques, but when using Dubler, the concept of sampling as well, you have to get into the mindset of sampling yourself and sampling your own MIDI, essentially. So you can see here, I did a couple takes, I did the chords, I recorded here. Everything may not be usable that you come up with, but it's all about finding your best moments and sampling that MIDI, and we'll touch upon that a little more in the next couple sections that we look at. So I'm just going to try to find a loop. So it's trying to find a good loop is a good place to start after you recorded a lot of MIDI. So, and then you can go in and fix that. That started well. Maybe let me see. So let's say I like that, just to start a quick, like, again, housey kind of progression. I'll use Command L in Ableton to loop that section. It's really helpful to work in loops, as you guys probably know as well. So and I forgot to do one important thing. I forgot to check if we're actually in tune, and we should be, because remember, like I said, when you drag a sample into Ableton Simpler, it maps the root of the sample, so the original sound, to the C note. So if your sample isn't a C note, you're going to have to go to Controls and transpose that so you can work, so the notes that you play in are correct. So because I know that this is a C minor 7 sample, that means when I'm playing a C here, it's going to be the root note, or when it's playing a G, it's going to be a G, and it's going to transpose everything correctly. So when I add other elements, I'm not finding myself in a different key by accident. Just checking for questions. So yeah, so really quick technique, if you're looking for a housey progression really fast, just put one chord in the sampler, sing in some notes, try some different variations, and you'll find some great things. I'll try just one more example, dragging in a chord. So I have this sample here. Again, it's a C. It's a bunch of different piano chords with C, and I just chose one of them I liked, dragged the arrow here, and if it wasn't like this, so if I just sang one note, sorry, so I don't want that chord, I want a chord that's all the way here, and I've activated loop, and chose and increased the fade, so no, that was the chord, I think. And this octave setting in Dubler is really important as well, because if I'm getting too low chords with the style I'm seeing, I can just increase the octave. So found something that was okay there. I'll use this capture to recover what I recorded. So just gonna fix the timings of these quickly. So that's a nice quick loop there. So again, I'm gonna map my envelope here, so the loudness to the filter frequency, but this time I'm not gonna sing the chord. So I have my chord playing ready. I don't want to record any new MIDI information. So to avoid recording new MIDI, I can just disarm this. Oh, but it's still gonna play for some reason. Seems like. Okay, so I've muted the MIDI of this pad sample, but I want to use my voice instead of a traditional knob to modulate this frequency while it's playing. So it's fun to do with the mouse and all, but like it's also really interesting and fun, and you'll come up with new patterns when you do it with the voice. So I'm gonna actually duplicate this so it goes a while. And during that, I want to record some automation with the filter. So I'm going to again go into MIDI mapping mode, Command M, hit the filter, hit the envelope, map. That should be good. So now when it's playing, I'll give some resonance. So I'm basically, every time when I make any noise to the microphone, the envelope's going to go up. So the pitch I'm singing isn't important right now. I'm just trying a different way of effects modulation instead of just using the mouse or twisting a knob. And this can really allow you to get expressive. So I was just starting to go wow, 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 wow. And even doing that, it kind of understands what I'm doing and gives that expression. And it's much more enjoyable to do. I mean, it's maybe not more enjoyable to do with an audience that's just listening to my voice and not singing a pitch. But it's a really new way to just record automation and add variation to the parts, the MIDI parts that you do record with Dubler. So I'm just going to try recording some automation. Again, apologies if my voice. Please let me know, by the way, if my voice is coming in much louder than the music. I can definitely turn it down. So I'm going to record this automation now. Again, you don't need to arm the channel because we're only using MIDI mapping. I'm not singing a pitch. I'm just adding expression. So let's watch how this filter responds to my voice. So very subtle automation added there. Actually, not very subtle. So I can also edit that. So if you click A in Ableton, that's the shortcut to get to automation, the automation mode. And I'm just going to zoom. You can see all the movements you did, and you can fine tune. So if also, I think instead of fine tuning, I'm just going to look for where I maybe did it the best and just copy paste that around. So maybe. So that was going well, but then after one point, I maybe went too low. So what you can do is you can select the area, move these arrows up. Yeah, so a nice little loop there. I'll just join that with Command J. So and we can also continue. So by the way, you'll see these automations are graying out sometimes. That's when you hit the same parameter that you automated. Everything goes white and you just reactivate the automation by clicking this arrow up here. Definitely automation in Ableton is really amazing. Definitely recommend you to check out some tutorials and use it if you aren't using it already in your productions. So now back to singing pitches. I'm just going to go to another single note here. Actually, I'm going to take a break from singing for a second and move on to a little bit of beatboxing quickly. So a traditional way we show, you've probably seen lots of videos where people using Dubler use beatboxing to sing MIDI drums, basically. And the way that works is you train triggers in Dubler too, and I'll show a quick example of that now. But that essentially means you can map any sound. This could be a snap, this could be a p, ch, ka, any different sound from your voice to trigger a specific MIDI note. So this could be used in a lot of ways. Traditionally, you'll see people beatboxing, kick and a snare, so boot, cha, boot, cha. But in terms of sampling and using different kinds of drum samples, something really cool to do is play one sound with three or more different expressions. So for example, I have this bongo kit here in Ableton. You can see they're all kind of they're all the same sound, but it's just one. They're all the same bongo, but each note has a different expression of it, basically. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to map 3 sounds of my voice to trigger 3 different bongo expressions. So I'm going to go to triggers. I'll go for the first one, record the takes. Clear takes. So now every time I do a but sound, that's going to trigger this specific MIDI note, and I'd be able to come into triggers and change this MIDI note. Just to show that again. And you can see it's also velocity responsive. You can turn that off here, of course, if you'd want to. And for the second one, I'm going to map this MIDI note here with the cha sound. Cha, 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 cha. So now I have 2. Now I have 2. Cha, 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 and then I'll add a third one when using a cut sound. So I'll have a but, cha, and cut sound with different MIDI notes attached to them. And you really have to work on this to find which sounds really work for you. They need to be separate enough so that it doesn't confuse the software. If you train 2 similar sounds, you'll get overlapping samples launching. So for this third higher bongo, so I want that higher one, I'll use a cut sound. Cut, 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 cut. So I'm just going to lower the sensitivity because I'm getting double notes sometimes. If you find that you have some notes jumping around or it's too sensitive, definitely lower this and it'll completely change how responsive the software is in a really good way. So now I have 3 sounds. Ba-cha-ka, bu-cha-ka, bu-cha-ka, ka-ka-ka-ka-ka-ka-ka, ka-ka-ka-ka-ka-ka-ka. So now I can try to add some percussion over this drum beat, for example. So now so now it's really quick, really intuitive and expressive way to record in percussion. And also what's really important is that I might quantize it for now as an example, but leaving things unquantized and having them have a natural groove is really easy to achieve when you're singing with your voice instead of playing with your hands, or especially compared to typing it in on a quantized grid. It'll just lack that soul. But when you sing it in, you're really just adding that little bit of creative timing to it. So I'm just going to see if I got any good moments from this percussion. Maybe that. So again, I'm approaching this with a sampling myself kind of mentality. I recorded a lot of this MIDI information now. This whole it could be much longer. This is only maybe 10 bars of information, and you're only sometimes looking for that 1/2 bar where it sounded okay, or that you can use and expand on or edit. And I'm kind of going for 1 bar right now, so I'm just gonna see. I just turn that down in the mix without the rhythm, still the beat is still okay, but just adding that percussion with different drum samples with different expressions can really add some groove to your track. So a really realistic sounding percussion loop we just made there, especially because of this great velocity response feature that the triggers have, where like you can add a lot of expression with the loudness of your voice, and it directly translates to the loudness of the samples here. You can also see from the velocities here, similar to a MIDI keyboard, of course, but there's just something different to doing it with your voice, especially with percussive samples. Again, I'm not really getting any questions. Again, if you guys want to know anything about Dubler, want me to delve more specifically into any of the features, please let me know. Happy to answer any questions. And one more thing I wanted to quickly look at is using Dubler with a third-party plugin, and what that kind of entails as well. So there's this really amazing synth on the market. It's called Faceplant, and it is by the Swedish company Kilohertz. This video is not they're not, we haven't partnered with them for this video, by the way. It's just they just released a really cool update, and I think it works really well with Dubler as well, so I wanted to mention it. This is probably one of the newest and best synths on the market, and it costs only around $10 a month, I think, and it comes with like 30 plugins, one of the best bundles on the market, and the presets are absolutely amazing in Faceplant. Works great with Dubler too if you own Dubler. So they just released an update, which is a granular engine, and granular synthesis it's harder to define, but basically it's taking one audio sample and playing sequences of tiny grains or pieces of that in different orders, allowing you to build huge walls of sound or textures with the simplest of sounds, like a piano note or like one drum hit or one vocal. So I'm just gonna show a quick example of that, turning off the triggers, going back to the pitch. Okay, that's working. So in Faceplant, the way it works is you choose an engine. This could be wavetable, noise. They have a sampler, of course, but this is the new one, the granular engine, and you choose a sample from their bank. You could also add in your own samples by adding in a location. I'm going to go for the quick, I think it was it? Oh, wrong channel armed. No, it wasn't this. It wasn't the handpan. There was another sample that worked really good, I think. Oh, cowbell. Yeah. So a simple cowbell sound. You know what a cowbell sounds like. It's not really. Does it allow me to demo it? I'm thinking. No, they don't let you demo the sounds, but yeah, it's just a very plain, simple cowbell sound. And when you put it in the put it through a granular engine, this is what happens. Ba, ba, ba. So it's just taking different pieces from the sample and spreading it out, and we're gonna turn this into like a big wall of sound or texture. So when you increase the position, you're increasing how much of the sample it's getting. And here with granular samples, this is where the gems lie, here in this empty section, because it's the fading elements of the original sound. The original sound can be kind of harsh. So if I increase the position, I'm going to increase the sound as well. And you can mess with you can add pan randomization. So if you're listening with headphones, you'll hear that it's going left and right, every single different grain. And I'm just going to increase reverb. And then you can add a reverse, so it reverse affects a portion of the samples. I'm feeling like this is quiet, so I'm just going to add some gain. So this is randomization, basically, these parameters. So pan is randomized, level is randomized, timing I can also randomize. So you're probably thinking this sounds pretty unharmonic. How is this going to turn into a chord or anything really usable? And I'm just going to again activate Dubler's chords mode. Okay, that got a bit intense. Sounds being a bit. I'm just. It's kind of. I'm gonna use a different sample instead of the cowbell. I'm gonna use a piano, or maybe. Yeah, okay, a violin bow basically. So now we're clearly at one pitch. When you increase the grains, you're increasing the amount of little pieces that you're hearing and that it's taking from all corners. So if I increase this to the max, and with chords. Yeah, this pitch randomizer is a really cool one. So I actually want to. I'm gonna map that to vowel in Dubler so that I get that like pitch effect sometimes when I'm singing. So phase plan has a different kind of way of mapping, but what you have to do is you have to hit plus on a macro and increase the amount. I'm just gonna increase to 30%. So that means this macro at its max only increases the pitch to about 30%. And then in Ableton, to add a plugins control to something MIDI mappable, you hit configure, click on it, and it'll appear here. And then I'm just gonna hit Command M to map, I'm going to map the macro to the ah vowel. So now when I emphasize ah while singing, this macro is going to go up, and that means we're going to get that pitch effect coming. So I can have it maybe make it the effect more intense. I can give this more of an envelope as well. Each individual grain, I can make them pluckier. Just gonna try to change the sample one more time, maybe to piano. Yeah, something's going on with the. Now, yeah, I shortened the envelope too much. Sorry about that. So, yeah, this is just the envelope of each grain, and if I shortened it too much, so everything was kind of. But now that I increased that. So you start to get some really cool textures, and you can just mess around with this. And also, while we're doing this, one huge benefit of sampling and using samplers with while singing with Dubler is that it frees up your hands to be able to comfortably look at the screen, tweak parameters as you're singing. So it's just a really expressive and freeing way of sampling and just tweaking parameters, tweaking your effects while you're singing, hearing what you're doing back. It just gives that freedom to be able to edit everything comfortably. So. Yeah, I still have that pitch effect mapped to the ah vowel here, so every time I emphasize an ah, the pitch starts to get wobbly. We'll move the octave down in Dubler a bit. Okay, maybe too much of the pitch effect. And then what you can do is also give an attack to these envelopes. And a great thing to do is to layer these. So we have this nice texture now, but it's not really sounding like a pad. So why not take this pad that we made at the very beginning? Here it is. This is how it sounded alone. Let me turn on. And I'll record arm this and also record our granular synth with a phase plan. So I really like how the lower pad layer goes down and up and down and up in volume. So I can map the volume of it to another val quickly. If you get used to this MIDI mapping workflow, it's very simple, very easy to do. Just Command M, volume. I think that was the wrong one. So I map the volume to the E, but I don't really want it jumping around. I'm going to turn on the E valve, turn off the I don't really want it jumping around that much, so I'm going to set a lower limit and maybe an upper limit as well, so the sound doesn't change drastically. That's maybe too nice of a limit. But yeah, so we looked at a lot of chord examples, and I hope I really recommend the synth. Great for Dubler, great presets. Give it a shot give it a try if you can. I'm gonna mute that for now, and just while. Someone just asked how much did they miss, but this video is going to be fully available tomorrow on our YouTube channel, so you can be sure to watch that anytime. One last feature I didn't mention is our MIDI capture feature that I quickly want to talk about because it's one of the best parts about Dubler. So MIDI capture is a VST. We have lots of videos about it on our YouTube channel if you want to check it out, and it connects to the main Dubler software. So it's called Dubler MIDI Capture, the plugin. You put it on an empty MIDI channel. I'm also going to add a new MIDI channel to add maybe a bass instrument. So you may have seen on our YouTube channel, we recently released a video with how to start a process of improvising bass lines using Dubler and using especially this new MIDI Capture plugin. And it's saying not connected to... Why would it... Oh, wait. Oh. Why is it connected? I made a little mistake, I think. That's weird. I'm having a bit of connection issues. Just gonna restart Dubler quickly. Put myself in C minor again. Oh, that's weird. Okay. Okay. Well, it looks like I'm having a bit of difficulty on the system right now. But basically, what MIDI capture does is it cleans up your MIDI when you're recording. So you can record a take of bass line, melody, or whatever, record it into MIDI capture, and it'll clean up the MIDI, getting rid of some ghost notes, some unwanted octave jumps that can sometimes happen when you're using Dubler, or any other little mistakes, slightly fixes some timing issues, and you just get a really clean MIDI clip. And again, using the attitude of just recording a lot of MIDI and just slicing up and finding the best moments can be really, really helpful in workflow, and especially like when you're trying to start out a new song, new production, new idea. But yeah, definitely check out that video we released a couple weeks ago now. I think it's called Improvising Bass Lines with Dubler 2, and it walks you through that workflow. I was going to do a demonstration of basically exactly what we do in that video, but I'm having some connection issues, I think. So so that's basically it for today. I'm just going to actually maybe try one more time. I don't know what is wrong with this system, but open Dubler 2. So it is connected, it should be. Yeah, it's not connecting for some reason right now. I don't know. This is usually not a problem, but yeah, be sure to check out that last video we released. And if you have any questions, I'm just going to stick around for a couple more minutes. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got some useful tips about sampling and about some other synths out there, and I hope that was helpful. Thank you so much. Still just waiting. Cool. Okay, but yeah, if you have any questions, drop a comment at the bottom of this video or any of our other videos. You can reach us anytime at help@voclia.co.uk. And you can head to our website, also voclia.com, for more information. And be sure to keep an eye out on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe for all of the latest voice to MIDI content we're putting out these days. Thank you.